Hello, Internet people. It is me, Paul. Today we are going to paint this cardinal. Not once, but twice. Yes, 2 times. Why? Why? What's with that? Well, I'll tell you. We are going to paint one on cold press paper and the other one on hot press paper. I had to look to see which one's which. This is cold press. This is hot press. Why do that? Well, let me tell you, because a lot of people don't know the difference between cold and hot press paper and why you would use one or the other, and is one better than the other? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Well, let's find out. I go back and forth between them, and I'll explain the reasons why as we go along, and hopefully you will learn something from this and enjoy it. Otherwise, I don't know what to say. If you don't enjoy it, I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be here. Go learn how to knit or something. I don't know. Okay, anyways, enough about that. Let's get to painting. So, let's talk about the drawing here. So what I've got here, 2 identical drawings. How did I do that? Well, I used a projector and I projected an image so that I could trace this outline on the paper and make them exactly the same. So I want to eliminate as many variables between the 2 as possible. How I'm going to go about this is I am going to put some paint on one painting, and then I'm going to put the same kind of paint in the same place, but on the other painting. And then we can see how the same paint, same amount of water, everything else goes on, dries, and all that other stuff. Pretty cool. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we need a wash of red. Our bird is red. There's some differentiating areas here where we've got this front side, we'll call it, where the bright red, and then we've got the sort of dark side, where the wings and things are here. So we got, again, over here, we got the front side and the dark side. So we're gonna do the front side first. And we're gonna do a full wash. All that reddy, orangey, yellow color, we're gonna mix it around. We're gonna leave out the mask, and which I didn't draw on the second one. Give me 1 second. I will do that really quick. What were we talking about? All right, the mask. Okay, yeah, now we've got a mask on both of them. Hopefully I didn't miss any other bits that were really important. I mean, it's a cardinal. I painted lots of them. I can wing it if need be, but I'm just trying to keep it consistent because I said I would, and I like to keep my promise. I like to do what I say I'm going to do, so let's do that. I'm going to grab another brush so I can do these little flingy bits up here. Bear with me. I'm coming back. I'm going to use this knife brush. Knife brush. I think it's called a sword dagger brush. Dagger brush, that's it. A dagger brush. It's kind of like a dagger brush. There's other ones that have like a long spindly top on them. Here, this one is got a medium spindly top, but it works well for doing those little flick, flick, flick things. How's it go? Flick, 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 like that, right? Okay, so enough talking. Let's get some red and some yellow. So I've got cadmium red here. You can't see my palette because I have 2 paintings, and there's just only so much I can fit in the camera. So you're just going to have to accept the fact that I don't have the palette in the camera. But what I do have are 2 beautiful, yet to be, will be, beautiful paintings. Okay, all right, enough talk. All right, we got lots of pigment and paint on the brush here. Super, super red. Let's get this on and let's get this party started. Okay, here we go. We're going to go right up around this eyeball here. I've tried to draw it fairly well. There are some lines and whatnot in there that will, I'm just covering them up. I always do that. I put all these lines on, and then I just paint over them. I don't know why. I don't have an answer to that. Look at how red this bird is. Boy, oh boy. We're going to have to put some variation in here, maybe some water and whatnot, maybe some sea salt or something to break this up, because this is just crazy now. We've got this crazy amount of red pigment here, and I'll show you what we're going to do here. We're going to fill in this as much as we can. We're going to get our dagger brush, sword brush, whatever brush here, wet, a little bit of water on it, grab some more pigment, get that pencil out of the way, come up here along this edge here and flick, 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 flick. Kind of hard doing this upside down. Normally I'd be spinning my painting around and changing things, but when you're filming stuff, everything is harder. There we go. Okay, good enough. All right, good enough. Okay, now the key is we want to keep it wet. We don't want too many lines and things on here. And because we want to be able to dilute this and break it up a bit. I should be using a bigger brush, but then it gets harder in the smaller areas. Okay, we'll just go around the feet here, paying attention as much as we can to where things are. It's a good idea to leave a few little white spaces just for the fun of it. Okay, now let's look at this bird here. We've got some lighter areas, we've got some darker areas. It's not one big solid blob of red now, is it? No, it is not, Paul. So why did you paint it that way? Well, I'll tell you why, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab some water, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to dab it in. Look at that. Woohoo! Crazy time, crazy time. So I'm looking at these light areas here, and I'm saying, okay, let's get some light in there. Let's brighten that up a bit. Let's open some windows. Okay, now we are on, this is the cold press paper here, okay? So I want you to pay heed, notice, grab some yellow, put that in. Oh yeah, look at that now. Woohoo! We're getting crazy. I want you to notice how all the colors and everything else kind of come together and blend together there. Not crazy about these little feathers. That's a bit better. There, we got some yellow in there. Now, we still don't look too much like the, what do you call it? Painting, picture, photograph. So let's get some more variations in here, okay? We're going to need to come back and add in some of these shadow areas later, but some of these areas like around here, it's much lighter. So we could grab a cloth or a napkin, but I'm grabbing some water in here. Grab this little napkin here. I'm just going to dab in there a little spot. Pick up some of that, just to lighten it up a little bit. Where else can we do that? Down here. Makes a nice kind of texture in there. I'm not one for these, you know, grab a sponge and just dab it in for the fun of it. What I'm actually doing is I'm using this to define the light and dark areas in here. I'm kind of lifting off the pigment. And there is a rhyme to my reason. So bear with me there, okay? So looking good, looking good, looking good, looking good. Okay. All right. Cool beans. All right. Let's use this little brush since we got it here. We can come to find some of these areas a little bit better. We're not going to worry about the beak just yet. We just want to do this area in here for now. Okay. Cool. We got some variation in there. If we wanted to get really crazy in some of those light areas, we could grab, I have some here somewhere in my little tickle trunk. Well, I normally do. I don't know where it is. Let me look over here. I'll be right back. Just so that we can compare apples to oranges, we've got some sea salt here. I showed it to you on this camera here. Some coarse, of course, sea salt there. Just some of these little bits up here on the edge are kind of, you know, not all red, solid. They got some other splotchy bits going on. And we want to see what this effect looks like on both papers. All right. Kind of like what's going on here. I like this little trickly effect in here. There's a couple light areas in there that I want to dab out. You know, just looking at the photograph and saying, okay, what's going on in there that's, you know, different here. Okay, and we had some light areas there. Now that's fixed. Now, let's go over here. So that was cold press. Let's go over here to hot press. Now we're going to do hot press time. Same thing on the hot press side of the world. I'm going to mix up a bit more paint because I used a lot of it. Again, we got cadmium red hue, which is basically, I think I say this in every painting I do. I'm going to stop saying it. I'm in a protest. Cadmium red hue is a mixture of paint that's meant to look like cadmium red, but it's not actually cadmium red. They say it's for health and safety reasons. I think it's because of cost, because the cadmium pigment is insanely expensive. Having made my own paint, I know this. And yeah, so it's cheaper to use these other ones, but you know what? They look good. Daniel Smith does a good job, but I'm just telling you why it's called hue. So I don't have to say hue all the time, just so I'm using hue, not real cadmium. I'm not going to eat it still because it'd be weird, but I could if I wanted to. As opposed to real cadmium, that if I ate it too much, I would probably die. I'd have to eat a lot though, right? Like a lot. No, I'm not going to, though I'm not eating any paint. Okay, hot press. Let's put some paint on the hot press. Paint on the brush. Okay, we got some red here. We're calling it red. We just did that. We're not doing that anymore. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fill this up. Now, I want you to pay attention and notice how differently this goes on here. What does it look like? How is this paint going on? You can see the little bubbles and things going on here. That's pretty crazy. We didn't have that on the cold press. I wonder why, Paul. Huh? Well, I'll tell you why. Because hot press paper is much smoother. So the paint doesn't get absorbed in it. Like, think of it like, you know, like a rag, right? Which is essentially what it is. It's made of cotton. But this is very smooth. So the paint has a tendency to sit on top, to puddle on top. It doesn't soak in as fast. So it takes a bit longer to dry. And when the pigments pool and spread around, they have more time to move. Like, it's easier to move the pigments inside the paint. Now, understanding paint is really important because it helps you when you're painting. So what's actually going on? Think of this as like a puddle with sand in it, very colorful sand. In this case, red sand. And that sand in that puddle is floating. And as it settles down, where the sand sits, that's creating your marks, or what you want to call them, watermarks on the paper. So on the hot press paper, why does that matter? Well, I'll tell you, if you let me answer. On the hot press paper, it puddles and pools. So those lines and those marks become more defined, so to speak. I didn't use the dagger brush on there. I should have used the dagger brush. And I think I bumped my hat on the camera, so I'm sorry about that too. Okay. Come on. Fill in this area. I'm moving off. You can't see me. I'm still here, but I had to come over here to get this other painting. Okay? I didn't go anywhere. Now, see, it's starting to dry, but we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add in some water, some other bits in here, and I want you to notice, what happens, okay? So let's clean off our brush, just like we did the last time. Some clean water. And we're going to come over here on this edge, where we did before. Behind the eye, there were some lighter areas in there. Now, I would be normally paying much more attention to where I'm doing this. I'm just kind of putting this in a location, so to speak. But look at how much more this pigment lifts off of here when I put the water in. It's almost like I can just wipe it right out, right? Like, look at that. Crazy, huh? Absolutely bonkers. And why is that? Again, because in the cold pressed paper, we've got these ridges, and those pigments, that sand in the water, gets stuck in those ridges. On the hot pressed paper, it's just sliding around. And so if it's not a staining pigment, right? Say like quinacridone magenta is a staining pigment. It stains the paper, so it doesn't lift as well. But in this case here, we can lift this much, much easier. I'm not going to bother using the paper towel on this one, although I should because I did on the other one, just so that I can show you the difference. All right, fine, I will. But I wouldn't need to because I can do it all just with the brush on this hot press paper, which is pretty cool. All right, let's grab some yellow because we did that on the other one. We're going to plop in some yellow pigment in here, see what that does, brighten that up a bit. Okay. What else did we do? Oh yeah, we dabbed. We did some dabbing. So we'll do some dabbing here, getting out some of those lighter areas in our bird. Now look at how much came up out of there compared to over here, right? It just lifted right off like it's like crazy. Okay, grab some sea salt here for this edge here. Where else did we put it? Down at the bottom down here. I think it might have dried too much already. Too much talking, Paul. That's the problem. I'll move some up here. We can still see what's going on. All right, now we're going to let that dry. We'll let that dry, and then we can come back and we can compare what's going on here. Then we can do the next section of the painting. Welcome back. Look, our paintings are dry. Well, they're not paintings yet. They're almost paintings. But what we did is dry. We're going to remove some of this sea salt. If you've never used sea salt and you're following along and you just dump salt all over your painting and you're wondering, okay, dude, now how do I get it off? Basically, just rub it lightly with your finger. Try not to smear it around too much. I've got a soft brush here. You could use your hand. You could blow on it, like, get it off the paper. Get it off. Normally, I just pick up the board that the painting's on and dump it off. However, these paintings are taped down to like one big giant board that my palette and everything else is on, so I'm not doing that. You can see what happened there. Some pigment ran. It's still a little bit wet. All right, now let's look at what's going on here. Okay, down here. Look at, first of all, I want to notice where we did the lifting. Look at the difference here. So basically we dabbed in here, we dabbed in here. We did the same thing, same paper, same piece of paper, and we dabbed it in different places. But look how much more came off of the hot press. Look at how much more defined some of these lines and shapes are. Look at how much more the yellow pigment is apparent in there. So these are the things that are the noticeable differences. So basically we did exactly the same thing, but look at how it reacted on the two different papers. Pretty cool, if I don't say so myself. All right, let's move on to the next phase. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to add some magenta, maybe a little bit of Payne's gray. We're going to do this darker side here. And then I think what I might try to do is try to lift out some of those lighter areas in there, like on the wing bit. I'll try to lift some of those out. I'm going to do the tail like red. It looks really pale and pink in there, and I think that's going to look dumb. I'm going to keep all that red in the tail. And then again, we'll let it dry. We'll take another look. Then we'll do the mask bit and then the beak. We don't want to, we're leaving those separate right now because I don't want them bleeding into each other. We'll bleed a little bit of things together later so you can see how it bleeds on the different papers. But for now, I'm keeping them separate and just doing it in sections so that you can see these differences. So far, what's your favorite? What do you like? Do you like this look on the hot press, or do you like this more traditional cold press look? All right. You don't have to answer that because I won't hear you because I'm in the past right now. I'm making this video. You're not watching it yet. You're not even here yet. You're not even invented yet. Okay. Enough about you, more about me and painting. Let's get this out of here. And now we got to get this color right. I said magenta, didn't I? All right, we'll grab some magenta. You can't even see what I'm doing, so why am I telling you? Mind your own bloody business. I'm trying to cool the red down for the back. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing some magenta. I think it's magenta. Quinacridone magenta. And I am, yeah, that's cool. All right. And I'm going to put that on the paper. Okay, you'll see it's a different color. There we go. So it's a different color. It's more, is it different? It's cooler. It's a cooler red. It is cooler. Not cool like, oh man, you're a cool red. Temperature cool. So right now, what do we have? We got a big solid blob on the back, and that's not at all what the bird looks like. I know. Don't worry. Just cool your jets, people, okay? Look at that. I'm putting in some other colors in here. We're going to do the same kind of thing that we did. I want to keep this loose. I don't want all these stupid details in there, like all the bits and everything else. I'm just kind of representing what is there, okay? Don't give me a hard time. All right, now we got a section down here that kind of comes and does its own thing here, right? So we're using water to kind of break up things here. Like I said I was going to do, I'm going to put some lines in here like this. See how that works? Now all of a sudden it's not so bad, is it? Nope, it's not. But we want this to be kind of over top too. It's interesting because this part up here goes over top this way. This part down here comes over top this way. Pay attention to that. Those are the kind of details that are going to, I'm serious, they will make a big difference. You think I'm joking, I'm not. They'll bite you in the butt. And these little brushes here, cool, because they got a little pointy end on there. You see that? So I'm just using that to kind of put in some of these funkier details in there. Oops, don't forget, people always forget the part on underneath. Darker colors along this edge here. I'm trying to get this on while it's still wet. If you don't have one of these brushes, just use a normal brush. I just happen to have it because I picked it up. I wouldn't normally use it, so don't feel bad if you don't have this brush. I'm going to put it down now in case you are feeling bad. All right, I'm going to grab some of this out of here because we got that light area there. A few light areas here. And again, we've got this lighter area in here. Now that quinacridone stainer pigment, Stainer. Crazy quinacridons. No, a fair bit came up. Okay, but it's got some definition. So see, we got some, it's not a big solid blob. We got some definition. I like it. Looking good. I'm just going to, more of a detailed brush, a smaller brush. Anyone will do. You will do. You want to know what brush it is? It's a Heinz Jordan Synthetic Kolinsky. Whoa. It's just a little brush. That's why I wanted it. Okay. Putting some edging on here. Not too much. Keep the details under wraps, Paul. Don't get carried away. That line in there. Now again, when you go to do these lines on here, it's good to practice because you don't want it, you got to put it on at the right time. Because if you put it on too early, it'll bleed all over the place. If you put it on too late, it'll just be a solid line. Which is fine because there is a solid line there. If you wanted to at this stage, we could put the shadow under here, this wing, but we're not going to. We could also push some of this pigment over here to give that look there, but again, we're not going to. We're just focusing on getting the shapes right here. I'm just adding a little bit of a hump back here because it comes out a bit, and I don't think I allowed enough room for that. Okay, so that again, that's our cold press paper here. We're gonna grab our ready color here, our pinky red, our cooler red. And we're going to put the same thing on here. Put it on the back of the bird. Look at how much more loose and wet it is there. We need some more pigment in there, don't we? We do. And again, it just goes on differently onto this hot press paper. So don't be alarmed. This is what we trained for. Okay, this is what we signed up for today. You came to watch the video. I didn't make you. Okay, we're going to let that dry. We're going to come right back. Okay, now we're dry. We're dry again. Let's look at what's going on here. Look again at the difference. We did exactly the same thing on both paintings. I mean, fairly close, like some of it was, a little bit of different pigments in different places. But look at these differences in here with the cold press versus the hot press. Look at the differences, how the pigments have dried, how it's all coming together. They're the same painting, but they're starting to look quite different. Pretty cool, huh? All right, we're going to paint the mask now, and then we're going to paint the bottom of the tail, and we'll see how it goes. We might move on to the eye if the mask is wet or dry enough, sorry, or we'll do the beak, one or the other. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start with the mask. For the mask, I'm going to just use, some Payne's Gray and some indigo. Mix those two colors together, and boy, you get a dark color. See that? No, you can't because it's on the brush, which is also dark. Okay, now I'm going to get nice and close in here and start painting on the mask. I don't know if that's the right word, mask. That's what I'm calling it, though. Mask, check, done. Okay, now over here. Hot press mask. Now you're probably thinking this would go a lot faster if you had a bigger brush. You're right, it would. But I always do that, and then I rush, and then that's where I make mistakes. So this time I'm trying to be more careful. Nothing crazy, huh? Looks pretty much the same on both. It was just a lot of saturated pigment, so of course it does. I'm going to wet this little brush here, and just what I want to see happen is I'm going to come along here with a damp brush, not saturated, and I just want to bleed a bit. by touching the edge here. I like, I don't like when it's too hard of a line. Okay, so see what happened there on this one, what happens when you touch it on the hot press paper. Now let's see what happens here on the cold press paper. So I'm coming on the outside edge, and I'm just dabbing along, putting some water. Along there, look at that. Much softer on the cold press than it is on the hot press. Makes much more of a hard line. Okay, and I think what we can do is we can come in here and I'm going to grab some of this light pink color and we're going to put a base down on the beak. We're just going to fill it in, but we're going to not try very hard not to touch that line. I'll come in and fill that in later, but not until that the mask part is dry. So basically, if we look at the reference picture here, I took like the light pinky color and just put it down as a base, and then we can put the other colors over top. Okay? And now let's go on and do the bottom of the tail here. So we'll grab a bigger brush, this one, wet that paint, got dried. It got dried up. And I'm not gonna match like the color on there because I don't like the way it looks. I don't think that bird did a very good job of painting itself. Sorry, bird. Just call it how it is. And I'm not going to go into crazy detail here. I'm just doing something like that. Look at how much oranger it is over here on this paper versus on this paper. Just the way the pigments go. All right, we're making some serious progress now into this painting. This is getting crazy. Let's do some fun bits here. Let's grab a clean brush. Say that my water is orange, so it can only be so clean. Now let's look at the reference picture. Up here, these feathers, they go over top. So this part here overlaps this part here, okay? So let's push some of these pigments like that. Grabbing just a clean brush, breaking up that line, and I'm pushing these over. Just push, 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 push. Yep, even the dark bit, because it's important. It's a make or break your bird, I'm telling you. And again, what we're doing is we're pooling those pigments up so that they give the illusion of feathering over top. So this part here feathers over top of the other part. Now I want to make sure that I'm just softening it up along the edge here because I don't want a hard line from the water. Hot press, we're going to do the same thing. See how it works over here. Got our water on our brush and we're pushing. And I think you'll be surprised, maybe you will, maybe you won't, at how much more you can push and lift. Okay, while that's drying, let's do some more on the beak. Grab our small brush here, and we're going to paint in just very easily, and we're going to paint in on the beak. I hate painting bird feet. I hate painting feet, period. I don't know why. It's just a pain in the butt. I like to leave them off. But a lot of people say, the bird needs feet. Your bird's got new feet. I don't care. Paint your own stupid bird. All right, we're going to grab some pink. And we're going to put in some paint. I'm basically just filling in this area here, not putting too much thought or effort into it. Partially because I don't like painting feet in two, because if you don't need to. it basically, you got an area like these little tubes. Think of them as tubes. They come out, they're cylindrical, and they're kind of light on the top and then darker on the bottom. That's it. Really not a whole lot to it. I mean, you could put in every detail, but what I like to tell people is that the more details you put into things like this, you're taking away from like the eye. That's where the focus should be, on the eye. Good enough for now. Move over to the next one. Okay, eyeball time. Zoomed in on the eye. I wish I could zoom in the paper too. Okay, so what do we got? Around the eye, we've got this pooey brown color. That's what we're going to call it, which I believe I'm using raw umber here, I think is what I've got. And I'm just going to fill this in around there, like so. It kind of comes up around the edge here, like that. I'll come over here onto this one, do the same thing. Again, it's lighter on the hot press. Okay. All right. Now we need to let that dry a bit, because if we start dabbing that around, then it will bleed. I'm going to get a very fine brush. How fine, Paul? Super fine. Look at how fine this is. Can you even see that in there? Is that won't even focus. Will this focus over here? Probably. Look, can you focus on that? Yes, you can. Super fine. Because I want to come in and I want to get around the edge. I'm going to grab some of that dark paint that we had from before. Oh boy, look at how dark that is. There's a lot of paint there. Okay, just take a little bit of that off. And I'm going to come in and I'm basically going to go around the whole eyeball. I'm going to go in here, we're going to paint kind of a half moon shape. Okay, let's come over here, do our dark circle again, try not to bang my head on the camera. The other thing that we need to do is that white area, it's not white. Okay, it's like it's a gray. So I'm just grabbing some, I'm just kind of dabbing it in a bit. I want to dilute it down, but I don't want to take it away. I don't want to paint over top of it. I mean, I want to paint over top of it, but I don't want it to be like gone. I want to see that white, but I just don't want it to be white. I want it to be, well, look like it is. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Okay? All right. Now, a couple things we could do for this white area up here. We could just take some of this pigment on the bottom and bleed it up. However, it is very dark. So chances are it won't work right. So I'm going to grab some, what do I got here? What is this? Phthalo blue or ultramarine blue or some kind of blue. And because it's a sky, I'm just going to dab that on. Okay, look at that. Now all of a sudden our bird has kind of got a three-dimensional look to it. And now we got this little tiny brush here, let's grab some of that dark color. And since I've got this zoomed in, we can come along here and we can just ever so slightly separate that beak. Okay, looking good. All right, I think we're pretty much there. Oh, let's do these, got a small brush, zoom out. I'm just gonna put some shadows on the bottom of these toenails here, claws, whatever you wanna call them. Notice I'm not putting too much detail or effort into those. I basically want the light part and I want the shadow part. I don't want a whole bunch of blah, blah, blah all over the feet. Okay, now let's get some yellow ochre here, maybe a bit of burnt sienna, and we're just gonna put in this branch here very loosely, nothing too crazy. We're done. That's it. What do you think? Let's look at what's going on here. A couple things to notice that, one, the cold press paper, things blend together more. They're not as distinct. The edges aren't as hard. The pigments go on more saturated in some cases. Like, for example, like we look at these darker areas here, they go on much darker on the branch that we just did there. These areas here on the hot press are more defined. The pigments lift easier off the hot press, and but they also make more marks. Like, so when we came over here and we're doing this pushing, it made more watermarks over there. You may like that, you may not like that. It depends what you're going for. So that's hot press and cold press. Let me know what you think in the comments.